Hello and welcome to the Junkyard Love Podcast.
At what age do we learn how to have better conversations? At what age do we learn to have better conversations with ourselves?
Knowledge is power.
Reality is...
Hello, welcome to the Junkyard Love Podcast. It is me, your host, Dobby, the house elf. Today, we have my friend Shiloh Rister on the podcast. This episode has a particular beauty about it because Shiloh's dog has actually since passed away. She texted me a couple days after the episode and told me the news, and I asked her if she wanted to, re-record the episode. Her dog was in her lap a lot of the times. I wasn't sure how that would be difficult for her, but she said, we talked about the world needing more dogs right now. There's a few synchronicities. We're talking about our canine connections with humans and dogs throughout the episode. And she said, I think we should certainly keep it. I think we should certainly put it out. And I agree. So it has that extra beauty in it. Listening back after learning this information, it just seemed a lot more genuine, a lot more real. And I also something I tend to do with the podcast is I try not to edit too much. Actually, I try to keep it this authentic. For me, I feel when you could hear people messing up or stumbling over their words, or you can hear, someone walks in front of the camera, as long as it doesn't take you away too much. There's even a slight delay throughout the episode with this. It takes us a few minutes to kind of get the bearings rolling. But to me, there's impressiveness in humans' ability to get through all this and still connect, to still have like interruptions or still have, a dog in our lap and be able to have a serious conversation. So I didn't edit it much. I kept it kind of as is, and I think that you'll see and experience and hear why. But yeah, so this episode has a particular beauty about it. Shiloh has lost her companion, her friend, Georgia Peach. So if you are her friend, maybe reach out and give her your condolences. We could all use each other right now. Maybe just a quick text, quick little reach out to people who are going through loss right now. Just like all of us. So without further ado, let's get going with the episode. It is me, Georgia Peach, and Shiloh Rister. I hope you enjoy.
Got my puppy.
Georgia, right?
Yeah.
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 Oh,
It's a little dim in here, but yeah, she's big. She thinks she's a lap dog, even though she's clearly not. But
yeah, I have my dog Blue is not here. He's Shaylee and I are like sharing custody with him, so it's always just back and forth. But I think that we have like kennel cough breaking out in the house because my roommates, they have two dogs and one of them has kennel cough, and one of our friends in Portland had it, their dog. So we're trying to deal with that, like trying to not give all the dogs kennel cough if we can help it. But
yeah,
poor little buds.
How does that even happen? Like,
I don't know. I
like
mean, I know
kennel cough.
It's pretty prevalent in pounds, and like Humane Society, I feel like they get it fairly often. I'm not sure if it's like a dog cold or if it's more severe, like doggy COVID or something. But I know that the scary part of it is that it could lead to pneumonia. So like older dogs, it's a little more scary for them, I guess. But I also really don't know that much. I just quick Google search is all I get. So
yeah. No, I was always curious of how it, how it happens and everything like that, because I've never had to deal with it, but with our dogs.
Yeah, I think you can get antibiotics for it, like for the dog, but I'm not sure again, I don't know enough about it to know if that's like a safe thing or if they always
Right.
need antibiotics, or if, because dogs are pretty like resilient. Their immune systems will just power through whatever. They're sick for a couple days and then they're good. But okay.
Yeah.
I am recording, my friend. Let me see. Video. Oh man. As soon as I say I'm recording, then it minimizes me. There we go. Shiloh, what do you like to go by? What's the last name, middle name you like to go by? Rister?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't know, sometimes we have our on social media we'll change our like into our middle name, or it'll be something else, so I'm always clarifying, because sometimes you just think everybody goes by the same name all the time, but
No, I usually like first name Shy, but Shiloh. But yeah,
okay.
usually.
Well, hello Shiloh. Welcome to the Junkyard Love Podcast.
Hello.
It's nice to have you on here. We had been trying to make it work for a while because we were living closer quarters actually at the old house, but then you started getting scheduled right as I was beginning to move and get out of that old studio. So it's cool that we're able to still connect via Zoom. It's not the same, but it's still something.
Yeah. It's always nice.
What has your life, you've been experiencing the old COVID quite a bit. What has your life been like the last like 8 months? What have you been experiencing?
It's been crazy. Actually, I work in memory care at a facility down in Vancouver, and we haven't had like COVID, like any positive cases or anything like that until recently. We had a couple staff members, none of the residents or anything like that. But a couple of the staff members came back positive, and I actually went to Modesto, California in July, I think, for 2 weeks for COVID relief down there. And that was insane.
COVID relief? Like what were you doing?
California is pretty much a cesspool.
Yeah.
They needed workers. They needed CNA workers, and it was a facility that's like a sister facility with the company I work for. And they needed people, and I volunteered along with one of my friends who also works with me. And everything was crazy because they had a positive side, which had like 40 positive COVID residents. And then we had to wear PPE, like gowns,
right,
face masks, and face shields. And I was like, this is wild. Like they had everything barricaded with tarps and everything. It kind of reminded me of like the quarantine movies that you watch and everything like that. I don't know.
Yeah, like everybody's wearing hazmat suits. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine having tarps up. I remember seeing towards the beginning, it was just so crazy to see nurses wearing like black trash bags and stuff, and there's just, you said tarps. Like that's just so weird. It's so different than our usual, what we would normally see. So has it, and that was back in July, you said. So have you been doing more work with COVID patients since you've gotten back, or was that the one-time thing?
It was just a one-time thing. I was only there for 2 weeks, and I actually when I got back, I had to quarantine for 2 weeks before I could go back to work. And, you know, I got tested and everything like that, which came back negative. So I never had
Yeah.
COVID.
Do you
But
do you
I
question
don't
like
know.
I feel like the test, you see all this stuff, the test being insignificant and stuff, not insignificant, but they're just coming up. It's like you see a lot of stuff people say that the tests are negative sometimes and positive sometimes, and it's hard to exactly quantify if people for sure have it or have had it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, because every single time that I've been tested, it's like they do it differently each time. Like, because it's a nasal swab. And there was one time I got tested and she like barely even put it in my nose.
Mm.
And like you're supposed to actually stick it up there, pretty much in your brain, and twist it for like 10 seconds each nostril.
Jesus.
And yeah, it's not fun
Just intrusive.
at all. But yeah, well, yeah, because there's no way that you're not gonna have tears coming out of your eyes because it hurts that bad.
Yeah, anything to do
Yeah,
with your nose
right.
just makes your eyes water.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's weird. I don't know why they think that a nasal swab like is, you know, right for the I don't know. Everything's up in the air. Like I feel like we're just trying certain things and it's just I don't know. I think it's silly.
I mean, I guess there's yeah, it is pretty, it's all silly. Like everything about the whole thing seems silly. It's just like, of course I don't expect us to have like, you know, as a country or a world or whatever to like perfectly handle everything. Like, oh, this virus comes up suddenly and we should be able to just perfectly like, okay, we know exactly what to do, you know, even if there is playbooks or there's, you know, ways of handling it that have been talked out before. It's not going to be pretty no matter what. It's like a very disrupting thing for us. So I know that we're just trying to figure it out. So I had a test a couple months back and it was a blood test and I just had to get a finger prick. And then I sat there for 10 minutes and she came back in, said, I'm negative, good to go. And so I don't know, to me, it felt like the blood test was, I was like, wow, I trust that. It seems reliable. It's a blood test. But I also don't really know. I mean, is it more prone to show up in my snot or in my blood?
Right. Well, yeah, because they say that, you know, COVID is more of like in the lungs and everything. Like it's, I mean, that's where a lot of people, you know, get really sick because I think it's with the whole pneumonia and everything like that, but it attacks differently than pneumonia. But it's like, why the nasal swab? You know, if it's not necessarily in your sinuses or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a trial and error thing, I think.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it'll be interesting to look back, you know, and say 10 years, we look back at, you know, of course, COVID is going to be something that has changed our whole society and the way we do a lot of things. And I heard this phrase yesterday on a podcast that was, someone was kind of half jokingly calling it BC, like before COVID. And now we're going to call it something like some sort of after COVID time frame, which is so weird. But I don't know. It's just interesting to look. It's going to be interesting to look back and see what we kind of laugh at ourselves for, or geez, we could have done this better, or if we just simply did these things, we could have helped this many, or I don't know. It's such a weird conundrum, and the state of the media does not freaking help. We're kind of losing our minds when it comes to our media, and I think COVID hitting right at this time has just projected that. So you know what I would like to talk about?
I agree. I,
Yeah, there's a little bit of a
okay.
delay. But
What?
you know what I would like to talk about, Shiloh, is we met at the 859. What is your
Yes, we did.
what is your fondest memory of the 859? Is there anything that comes to mind immediately of like a good time you had there or conversations you had there, or I mean there was quite a few good ones. So let's describe to the listeners what the 859 was, where we
Well,
had
because
met.
like, oops, hold on. Sorry.
You're fine.
There. The 859 was pretty much a party house on, was it 7th
Yes.
Avenue?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the address was 859. And pretty much every single day or night, there was a party with random people, just all sorts of different types of people. Longview, Kelso, Kalama, Vancouver. Gosh, there were so many like drunken heart to hearts there
For real.
that I don't even remember. Every single night, I remember uh, just out on the porch on the little stoop. Everyone's smoking or drinking, and just got to that point of the night where it's like, oh, dude, let's have a heart to heart. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. Or, gosh, I spent so much time there that I can't even like, there's so many different memories
Right. Yeah, it's like a stage in
that I
life
have.
of being at the 859. For me, I think because there was quite a few for me, because it was just meeting all these new people, and I was a couple years younger than everybody, so I was like, just felt so cool being invited to hang out with everyone. And I remember there was the upstairs, like your typical, like I feel like you would see on an Instagram post where there's just the upstairs room just full of blankets and pillows, and you go up there and smoke and just hang out and relax and be comfortable. That was like such an inviting place. You can just really be open and be yourself. I feel like everybody was able to be themselves at this house, because the people who lived there were so accepting and awesome. And for me, let's see, there was this time where we had a party. I'm not sure if you were there, but there was a party there that the Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros album had just come out. The album that has Home and 40 Days, 40 Nights. It's just like one of their most popular albums. And it had came out and I purchased it, and I pretty much was just like taking people one by one into Ryan Santos's room to be like, hey, I want to show you a song. And I would invite them into the room to like have them listen to this and just watch them like, hey, this is good, right? You love this, right? It was just so I don't know. It was just a legendary place, man.
It really was. I remember there was always music, all sorts of different types of music. Like, I think it was Ryan always had his laptop playing like Modest Mouse and just like old school like pop punk
Mm-hmm.
type
Mm-hmm.
music, and just feel good. I don't know.
Yeah, the first time that
Yeah,
the,
those
the
were good times for sure.
yeah, it's crazy like how long it's been too. The first time that I remember specifically the first time that I heard MGK, the rapper, Bo, who was living there, showed him to me. And I just remember being like, oh, wow. Like the amount of new music that was introduced to each other just by everyone hanging out at that house. Just a melting pot of new good music.
Yes. And a lot of weed.
A lot of weed too. Yeah, I'm not sure if Oh yeah, no, I was smoking back then. I know we had, and it's been a long time, and I don't know if you participated in this. Don't incriminate yourself. It's been a long time, but I remember we had Molly parties there. Actually,
Yep.
we would. Yep.
I was the babysitter.
Oh, so you were very much appreciated at the Molly parties. I mean, it was.
I
Yeah,
never did.
yeah, it was. I
I was
remember we
making
would.
sure that everyone was drinking their orange juice.
Yes, taking care. There's always the shaman figure who would take care of the group going on their journey. Thank you for that.
Yes, you're welcome. No, I remember everyone, once they started rolling, they would go to the bathroom. They're like, we gotta wash our hands. I'm
Yep.
just like, what is going on right now?
Yep. That's
We
that's
gotta
how it
wash our
goes.
hands. And you guys you guys would be in there for like a half an hour.
No
I'm just
way.
like, what is going on? You're like, yeah. Oh, it feels so good.
It's funny the
Just
sensory,
like, you guys are
all of
whatever.
all of your senses are so heightened. Man, it's been so long since I've participated in the MDMA world, but your senses are so ultra heightened, and you focus on, like, that's why, like, people say touch. You like touch. You'd see movies, they talk about ecstasy, where it's just like this whole, like, romanticized, like, touching side of things, but there really is kind of that aspect. You just appreciate. You're like, wow, I never realized how much I appreciate the contrast of cold to hot water. Like these things that seem profound to you while you're rolling away.
Yeah. Or like touching the wall, like the texture and everything was like, I'm just like, what am I watching right now? I'm just drinking beer.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's
it was fun.
it's cool to see, it was like that so long ago, but now they're doing so much good research and so many good trials, and clinically helping people with PTSD, helping people with severe depression, anxiety, like all the research that's going into MDMA assisted therapy is just so cool to think about, because there's a difference between experiencing something like that, when you're with your friends, which is great, or when you're, at a festival or a show or something, which I have done a couple times before as well. And then having the act of taking something like that and then having headphones, a comfortable spot, you're in the right set and setting. I think as far as the clinical trials are going, it's like 2 people who are assisting you, like 2 therapists are with you, and they're kind of just there for you, and they're guiding you through some things, and they have the right playlists ready for you, and you can kind of go through maybe your old traumas or your old, stories or things that are kind of holding you back. And it seems like they dig those up. Man, I'm super excited to see the future of what they do with that,
That's really interesting. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're doing a ton of work with all that, with psychedelic assisted therapy too, like psilocybin, LSD, that sort of thing. I don't know where all of it's at. There's always a lot of red tape, and there's a lot, like, different places, different states have different things that they're trying out. But MAPS, they're doing a ton of work for psychedelic assisted therapy, MDMA assisted therapy. I'm really excited for the future of it. Like, if we can, not have, it seems like we have our answer to a lot of anything when it comes to the brain is just like anxiety meds or depression meds. And, I feel like doctors don't entirely know what to do. They're just doing their best. They're taking the information they learned from schooling and applying it to people who are coming in saying, like, hey, I'm feeling monumental despair at all times in the day. Can you help? So having some other thing that can help people is going to be very exciting.
That's really cool. That is exciting.
Yeah. How do you think, Shiloh, this might be a tough question. How do you think you have changed as a person since, like, I mean, is what, 10 years, 859 days? Because we grow. I mean, we're always growing. We're always learning more, leaning more into our adult selves. Is there anything that you can think of that comes to mind immediately of, like, how have you changed? How have you grown since those days before?
Um, See, I moved. I moved out of state. Um, I moved to Arizona and I lived in San Diego. I think, oh man, that is a tough question. I think I know more of who I am as a person now than what I did back then, because I didn't really know myself at all. Like, yeah, I partied and stuff like that. And, moving away from everything that I've ever known to knowing no one, kind of made me see life in a different perspective than just partying and everything. Like, I would go out hiking and I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, I guess. Yeah, I just kind of found myself more.
No, I get that. I mean, I think, yeah, I think, especially I think growing up, did you grow up in town around here your whole life? Were you born in this area in Cowles County?
Yep.
Yeah.
Castle Rock.
Nice. Yeah. Man, I love Castle Rock. But it's interesting because I think a lot of people who don't move around a lot, you don't realize kind of like what's out there, or you don't realize like as much of who you are is so influenced by everyone you're around and your upbringing and the town you live in and the things you're doing, which isn't always a bad thing. But I think when you get out there, get out into the world, and you put yourself in different situations where you're kind of just at a blank slate with life, with who you are, you can like meet new people and be completely who you want to be without their maybe like placement of who they think you are or who they remember you as. Like if you like pooped your pants when you were 15 years old in high school, and you still see people who were in the class with you 10 years later, they're still probably gonna joke and call you poopy pants or something. So it's nice to move away and experience that clean slate. For me, when I started traveling for work and traveling for things in high school, like I went up to even just Bellevue. When I started leaving town, I was like, wow, people live differently here. There's, I would see a Ferrari in real life and be like, wow, those are really cool looking. It's crazy how much just getting out of your town and really trying to absorb the new places that you're going to can really help you change, but it's a change more towards who you really are, it seems like.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it was the hardest experience that I've ever had to do, but it was the best experience as well. Because, moving away from everything that people, friends, family, and going to a new place where you know no one, like, that was really hard. Like, I kind of isolated myself for a while, like once I moved, because it's like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? Like, I have no friends, like, but I started to get more independent too once I left, because I would go do things by myself since I didn't know anybody, instead of if I lived here, I'd call up a friend, be like, hey, you want to go to the mall with me?
Mm-hmm.
Or you want to go get some lunch? Like, I would just do things by myself a lot. But yeah,
Yeah, I think that the act of like doing, because it's like you know, you're kind of faced with, okay, I have all these friends back at home, but if when I move away, you got to almost put yourself out there, so to say. You know, we heard that phrase before, but you kind of almost like, okay, if I want to make friends, I need to like find a way to connect with people and see, you know, what they like, or, you know, maybe I got to find someone who likes the same music as me, or I got to find someone who is into the things that I am. And then you got to try forming that friendship. It's hard, man, because it's comfy to just chill by yourself, but that growth is on the other side of kind of putting yourself out there a lot of the times.
exactly. Exactly. And that's what I started doing too. I found like a venue um, that would have, shows, hardcore shows and everything. So I started going to shows by myself and then meeting new people, which was fun. And it was cool going to a different venue than I'm used to. And it ended up being the coolest venue I've ever went to.
What venue was that?
The Nile in Phoenix, actually Mesa.
Mm.
It
Yeah,
was really, really cool because they had an upstairs, which was huge, and then they had a basement for shows as well.
so would they
So that was really cool.
would they play like different music upstairs than they would downstairs?
Not necessarily. I think more so downstairs they had a lot of like hardcore bands, uh, but they also did shows upstairs with hardcore bands as well. I think it depended on the how many bands were playing
Mm.
on the
Yeah.
bill. So
Yeah, imagine like when shows open back up, like whatever that looks like after, you know, our COVID run here. Like I know that I'll just be happy to go to, like, if there's some dude who just learned how to play guitar and is just off key yelling into the mic at an open mic night, I will be so content. I don't even care. I just want to see live music. I don't care if it's a DJ train wrecking who's terrible at DJing. I don't care if it's like the worst AC/DC cover band ever. I just want to see some live music. What's the last live show that you remember going to before COVID?
um shit. It's been a while since I've been. The last one I think was Russ, and that was a couple years ago.
Hmm. Was that in Portland? I think I went to one of the more recent Rush shows, but yeah, it's been a long time now.
Yeah, it was at I think it was at the Moda Center.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was fun.
I'm looking forward to when we're able to go to concerts again. Who knows when that's going to be? Um, yeah, it's so weird, like, because I work in live events and I, you know, DJing, audio engineering, even just, you know, do a lot of stagehand type stuff. So I miss it in that aspect because my whole life has just like flipped and I'm not doing the things that I love doing for work. But it's also
Right.
like I'm just excited for being able to go to shows because it's going to be a while before there's massive, big shows where there's a ton of people.
I know.
Um,
Sorry.
no, you're good. Shiloh, I did want to talk about something we're all going through. We lost live events. We lost like our whole way of being before. We're all adjusting, but I think that something that we had messaged back and forth that would be beneficial to talk about is loss and how we navigate through loss. The loss that we've experienced. I think everybody, of course, in the year 2020 has experienced some sort of loss, some sort of losing something that they had before, losing the way that we lived before. It's something that we could all use a little perspective on, I think. So I think hearing anybody's journey of loss and how loss has changed them and how they're coping with it, and maybe how they're not coping with it so well, even just to not feel so alone, because it's like I've had my own troubles. I've experienced a lot of loss, just like a lot of other people this year, and I'm doing my best. But I think just hearing other people also going through it snaps us out of this like, oh, I'm not doing well because this much has changed since COVID, or we get kind of down on ourselves for not being exactly where we want to be. But I think there's so much loss in this time in so many ways that we're all just kind of stumbling through it. What's been your experience with loss since the pandemic started?
Well, in April, I lost two really good friends of mine. You probably know one of them. 1 second. Clayton.
Mm-hmm.
That was really tough because it was like, I'd lost touch, with him. Like, yeah, we would talk like over like Snapchat and everything. I know he lived up in Seattle, but I think the hardest part about that one is just losing touch.
Mm.
And that took a while to kind of get over. Obviously, it's always going to be there, but just kind of moving on from being depressed about it, because it was just really, really hard and kind of unexpected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then 2 weeks before that, I had a friend drown in Silver Lake. And that was also unexpected. It was a freak kayaking accident, and didn't have a life jacket on and everything. And I guess he didn't know how to swim. And, that was really, really hard because I had just talked to this person like 2 days before that. And we were making plans to make dinner and everything like that. And then 2 days later, he's gone. And then just recently, I don't know if you knew her, Sarah Brooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just passed away a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's how it goes. That's I didn't know her super well. I think that she, if I remember right, she worked at the mall when I was working at the mall. She did hair, right? Or
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
so I mean, I think that what you're going through, a good amount of people are going through as well. So I mean, thanks for sharing it. Just it's hard to even like talk about, is like, who knows what's the proper etiquette for talking about such great loss of friends. There's not. So thanks for sharing that. But it makes you kind of, it's just like we're, when we're losing our other ways of being, we even as casually as concerts, like we don't get to go to concerts anymore. Well, it makes you
Right.
kind of want to value, your next concert, you want to value it that much more. And I think sometimes loss when it comes to loved ones is this, there's so much sadness around it. There's so much sorrow. There's so much confusion, but there's also sometimes with a little bit of time, you can have value from, okay, I want to make sure that I'm trying to be present in the future with my friends. I want to really value my friends. I want to, because this can all change in such a quick instant. We can, because we do lose touch, and it's just kind of the way that things go. We separate, we move in different ways in our life. We can't possibly just constantly be texting or talking to every single person we know. So just, I think for me, when it comes to loss, I like to just, at the end of the day, you've got to just value the time that you did have with them, right? It's so overly
Right.
obvious, but when you can just work on your state of mind and really being with someone, like, wow, I really value you. Like, if you left this earth soon, I would sincerely miss you. And so that makes this time that much more special that I want to spend with you. And Shiloh, I think that a lot of people are going to have that kind of lesson to be learned, because there's a lot of loss going on. People right now are mental health is just not a lot of people are suffering right now. We're locked in, like our whole way of life, all the fun stuff that we used to do. We're all adjusting to it. So I think
Right.
that I think that it's hard to see it right now, and it's hard to just try to like throw optimism at everything, but there is value to just trying to see, like, what has this taught me, and how do I feel about this, and what does that mean for the future for me? Like, what does that mean for how I want to value my relationships going forward? How are you doing with everything? Like, how are you um are you finding like good ways to cope? Are you trying to like treat yourself well, or like how are you doing with all of it?
I'm doing okay. Honestly, I try to keep busy. I work a lot, and so just working and just trying to find things to keep myself busy. So I'm not like thinking about it 24/7. You know what I mean? Like, I will come home from work. I get off at 10, but I work in Vancouver and live in Castle Rock, so I get home around 11, and I just that's when I kind of unwind, and I start to kind of process everything. Because even though keeping busy is good, but it's also good to kind of process of what you're going through. And, I watch a lot of TikTok videos too, to just kind of get a laugh out of me. And, I'm glad to have my puppy. She keeps me, it's that unconditional love from a dog.
Oh yes,
That,
I know that well.
yeah. And, it's so crazy how dogs can sense that you're upset and everything. And, she likes to be close by, and that just makes it that, I don't know, just that warm comfort feeling.
Totally.
And
I agree. I think dogs have that. It's just that their little paw on your lap just says, everything's gonna be okay. You
I
know,
know.
they have that knack for being able to, like you said, sense when their human, when their companion friend is down, and they just know immediately. They're like, oh, my human is bummed. I need to give them some snuggles. You know, it's a
Yeah.
magical thing, dogs.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, like a couple weeks ago when I, was going through crying every day and everything, and Georgia would uh, come over to me and lick the tears off my face, and I'm just like,
Oh,
I don't want you licking my face, but it's just the cutest, sweetest little thing, and it's sweet.
yeah,
So
yeah. They have that ability to, they have that ability to sense exactly what you need, or pull you out of kind of like if you just been looping the same thoughts, kind of sometimes, just especially when you come home from work, when they're just unconditionally excited to see you. You're just like, you
yeah,
don't even think about what you were thinking about on the car ride home. You're just so happy to put your face in with their face and snuggle. I've experienced that with my dog Blue. Because he's kind of going through, like when Shaylee and I separated, it's a lot of like staying at this house and staying at this house and moving, and he's along for the ride. He's got to like stay in a place that he's not used to, and he's got to have his schedule switched around. So he was really stressed, but he could also, kind of pick up off of our vibes and pick off our stress too. And so it's just so interesting to see how much they mimic our anxiousness, and then they also sense it to help fix it. They just, dogs,
right,
cats, a lot of the times, they just know what to do. They just know what their human needs, and they give them some snuggles.
right, yeah, because they know your routine just as much as you know their routine, and it's like if that routine is, you know, uh, tampered with, it's like they know. It's like my human is off. This is not right, but I'm gonna go give them some snuggles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a philosopher, Rupert Sheldrake. He actually has all these studies. I haven't studied into it a ton, but I've kind of heard him talk about it. He has these studies where they basically tested a bunch of different animals, and basically the thing was to prove that animals have some sort of sense when their human has come home. So basically they tested a bunch of different homes, and they tested, like, so say you come home from work and your dog's like a few minutes before, 10 minutes before, 5 minutes before, he's already excited before you're like in the driveway, before he can hear your car. And they even had the people come home at different times in the day. They had the people drive different cars so the dog can't like hear the same car. And there was just a ton of positive, basically proving that the dogs and the cats would sense when their owners are about to be home. And it's just so interesting to think, like there's these connections between animals that we don't explore that much, but we all kind of, within our own animals, we're like, we get it. There's this wink that's going on between us and our dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, animals are fascinating. They really are.
Mm-hmm.
Because, we don't know what's going on in their
Yeah,
mind.
what's up? My dog? What do you mean? Sorry, Shirley. Okay, I'll give him a call soon. All right. Wow, interesting. We're talking about dogs, and I was saying we're experiencing the kennel cough stuff, and we weren't sure if my dog Blue had gotten it, but they're trying to get a hold of me because my dog is not doing well with kennel cough, I guess. So I guess he did get it. So I'll give him a call after our podcast here. Poor guy. Oh man, poor little bud. Well, there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about. I do want to. I feel like you always have good taste in music. I want to shift over to music. What have you been listening to lately? Besides a ton of Christmas music, I bet you've been listening to a ton of Christmas music, right?
No.
No.
only at work, but that's because it's work.
Mm-hmm.
What have I been listening to? Honestly, the last like couple days I've been listening to Marilyn Manson. So but like new music, I've been listening to the new Joyner Lucas album. Evolution, I think that's what it's called.
I haven't heard it yet.
And oh, it's straight fire.
Ooh, I need to get in on it then. I love Joyner Lucas.
It's so good. I think it dropped like a couple weeks ago. So, and also Joji. I've been listening to a lot of Joji.
Joji has that, it's very original, right? Like Joji has that, like, because there's this new, I don't know, what genre would you even say Joji is? It's kind of like this like punk bedroom hip hop, like, I don't know. It's this very, very original sound. Like it represents kind of the internet culture, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't even know what genre I would even put him in. Probably his own. Like you said, he's very original. Like, I don't know. He's got that swag about him that I just love.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I feel like, so I just had the Spotify. I don't know if you use Spotify, but they have like a year in review thing, and they see the songs that you listen to and how many genres you listen to, and it's just so weird to think about. Like when I first started DJing, there's all these subgenres, but there's just kind of like your main genres. And then just over time, everybody's creating their own sound. They're kind of like going off in this direction. They're mixing this with this. And now there's like, I think it said that I listened to 183 new genres in the year 2020. And it's like, what? How does that even, there's that many new genres to listen to, let alone I listen to them? You know, it's crazy.
Right. Yeah. I think mine was about right around that number too. And I listened to like close to 2,000 new artists. I'm like, didn't even know, but that's cool.
That's so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about, I mean, before you used to have to, like, if you wanted to be an artist to come up in the game, you had to, get a record label. You had to like find the right people. You have to have everything professionally done. But now it's like the internet just changes it. If you've got something to say, the zeitgeist of people online will find your stuff and share it. And, there's all these different new ways to get your music out there, like whether it's YouTube or TikTok. Even TikTok is huge for new artists right now.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, I remember like MySpace. I remember a lot of people use MySpace for, getting their music out. And it's just like SoundCloud, but, it's MySpace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everything. I miss MySpace.
Me too. I miss being able to, when you go to someone's profile, you immediately have a song playing. That was the coolest thing. It's just like, welcome to my house. Here's what I'm all about. You just get to just have music playing right when they get to meet you. And man, that was, I feel like MySpace was the coolest. I miss MySpace.
Yeah. Especially, you got to be a creator of like your profile and everything. And yeah, putting music on there, having a playlist. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Having glitter graphics, learning how to use HTML somehow.
Exactly.
Like we definitely figured it out. I feel like it when I would discover like emo pop punk bands on there, I would just be like obsessed with them. That was like the best way to find new kind of pop punk bands, was through MySpace. It's interesting to think of what that era was for us when it comes to MySpace and like those bands that we listen to. Mm-hmm. Now, the TikTok, the people growing up with TikTok right now are discovering what's going to be their like pop punk of their generation, through TikTok.
I remember with MySpace, like before like A Day to Remember like was big, like I discovered them and I was like, oh, this band's so cool. And then saw them at Warped Tour. And that's another thing, going to Warped Tour, I I discovered a lot of like new bands and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
too, like new music.
Yeah, Warp Tour was. I used to go to a ton of Warp Tours. Like just being able to walk around, like you'd have your list of like bands that you want to see, but Warp Tour was definitely one you could wander around and just follow your ears, or like go down. A lot of times I feel like we would choose the bands based off of their merch. Sometimes, like if they had
Yeah.
cool merch and we had never heard about them, we'd be like, "Cool, let's go. What time are they playing? Let's go check them out. They got cool merch." Warp
Right.
Tour was sick, man.
It was R.I.P.
Oh man. Yeah, even before COVID, I think that they were done. I think that they hung up the reins on Warp Tour.
Yeah, I think they did 20 years or something like that, 25 years.
Wow.
Might have been 30 actually, because I think they started in the early 90s.
Yeah. That's another thing that I feel like can change you is just going to concerts and going to like festivals and stuff, and just cuz a lot of the Warp Tour vibe for me anyway, and I don't know if it was like this for you, a lot of it was like me and a couple of my close friends are into these things, but otherwise I felt like a big old sore thumb. I felt like a black sheep of like, oh, I'm the one dressing in the black and I'm wearing the eyeliner and I'm wearing the tight black pants, and then you get almost made fun of in a town like ours growing up anyway, and then you go to Warp Tour and people are giving you compliments on everything you're wearing, and you're meeting new people based off of like the artist you're both watching, and you're bumping into friends that like have the same interests as you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt too. Because like, I think it was starting in sixth or seventh grade. You know, wearing all black, wearing the bracelets, and you know, drawing on my shoes, and like the Converse, and it was always like that up until I think junior year. And going to Warp Tour was like, I'm home. You
Yes.
you felt completely accepted
Yeah, I
instead
agree.
of
That's how it was.
yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of kids are, man, I just think of like there was a few a few huge years of my life where I was like growing into myself, where when you like the things that you like, but you're around a bunch of people who don't really like those things, it's hard. Sometimes you question like what you like, especially when you're a young kid growing up. You're like, I don't know, like, should I be doing the things that other people are doing? Am I spending time on the wrong things? And then you'd go to a place like Warp Tour, or for me, after that, even like when I started going to raves, that's kind of how it was for me. Just this huge acceptance of the things that I wanted to do and what I was wearing and who I was being, and singing out loud and dancing and these sort of things. It's interesting to think that the age right now, not only just during COVID, but even just the last few years and the years projecting, they kind of get that acceptance from the internet, whereas we used to go find these places where there's just, a big old field full of misfits at Warp Tour where you get to go
Yeah.
fit in. Now they're finding these communities online now. It's interesting to think of how different the younger generations are going to think from those sort of things.
Right. Like technology has, we're going into like the future, like futuristic type thing, because, Zoom calls and doing online schooling, and um, just it's completely different than when we grew up and everything like that, because yeah, we did have the internet and everything, but it was brand new, pretty much, dial up and everything. And now everyone has an iPad, a cell phone, and just technology is just skyrocketed in the last like 10 years.
Yeah, it's going to change a lot of everything, and technology has definitely been exponentially like kicked in the ass and really pushed forward with COVID because we're just kind of forced in our houses online. So it'll be very
Right.
interesting. I really like exploring and kind of like contemplating and thinking about what the future is going to be with all this new technology and how the young kids right now, how are they going to be as adults, and how are they going to change the world and how are they going to see the world differently, and how's that going to work out with everybody who, because there's still going to be people who are alive living in the same society as them who didn't really have any internet use, and the most internet use they get nowadays is Zoom calls and these sort of things. So it's going to be a cool mixture of people, because we grew up just like illegally downloading songs off LimeWire, and now it's like and you really got to search for your songs back then, and a lot of times you'd think you're downloading the Linkin Park album, but it's some other like terrible rapper who just used the Linkin Park name and you had to download it. But
Right.
now they get to just go to Spotify and just they control what they listen to at all times. They don't want to listen to the rest of the song. Next, as soon as an artist releases a song, they get to go see it. It's like a notification to their phone. So even just music changing is gonna be super cool, man. I'm very interested to see how the future of technology, music, and young people just changes the way we do everything.
Well, yeah, in the last, like, what, 3 or 4 years, like, you were talking about, music back then, like, needed a record deal and everything like that. But now everyone's doing it, like, themselves and everything, which is so cool to me. Even, like, big bands, too. They have their own record label and they're doing their music themselves instead of having to go through hoops and everything like that with the record manager and blah blah blah. But I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool to see we could really give the artists back their control in a sense. They don't have to do it this way to make sure it gets marketed, and there is those aspects of social media and all the things you have to do differently when you're putting your
Right.
band out there. But there's, the creative control, the fact that like I can be in my spot here and make beats, or like little young kids can be making beats, and then they don't have to go to a studio to get it to sound pretty decent. There's so many plugins and tools and different like pieces of technology that make what we're making sound pretty good. So you can go more streamlined from an artist having an idea in their head onto the sound paper, like onto actually recording a track, and you get to communicate that thought in your head just so much faster. You don't have to wait a few years for it to go to the get it mixed and mastered, and then your label has to distribute it and all of these things. So it's really cool. We're getting more direct with music, and I'm really interested to see what these young people do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm admittedly just thinking about my dog Shiloh, so we're gonna have to cut this a little bit short. But I do want to, if there's any message you think that the world needs to hear, definitely hit me with it. But I've been trying to figure out an ending question. Sometimes I ask people about legacy, like what's a legacy you want to leave, or I've been enjoying asking, what do you think the world could use more of right now? Does anything pop in your mind for that? Like what does the world need a little bit more of right now in this time?
I think the world needs a little more of, I don't know, that's a tough one because there's a lot. I don't know. This year, 2020 has been a roller coaster to say the least. I think a lot of people need more, I don't know. I can't even think of anything right now. I think the world needs more dogs. How about that?
Hey, I can roll with that. I think the world does need more dogs.
And look at this dog.
Oh, look at
She's
Georgia.
cute.
She is very cute. I think the world could
Thank
use more dogs. I'm actually with you. Let's just go with the world needs more dogs.
Okay.
I mean,
That
I
sounds
look,
good to me.
we were talking about the joy that you get from having a dog, that unconditional love. Like they're just there for you. Because a lot of us, the comfort that animals can bring us, because a lot of us are kind of going through just so many changes, loss, difference, adjustments, a lot of hard work to try to like just adjust all of our lives to what's actually going on now. And dogs have a knack for bringing you kind of back down to earth. Like what's really here? Like, okay, this dog with his wagging tail is joyful right now. There's a lot going on, but oh yeah, everything's going to be okay. And my dog is a stark reminder of that.
Exactly. Sounds good to me.
Okay, the world needs more dogs.
More dogs.
More Georgia? Yeah,
Yes.
she's very cute, man. How old is she?
She is 10 and a half months.
Oh, yeah, I think just a little bit older than Blue. I feel like Blue is right around that age. I don't know his exact
Really?
birthday, but yeah. Super cool.
Actually, no, she's 11 months. My bad.
Oh, she just got offended.
She'll
She's
be
like, I'm older
one.
than that.
She'll be one. She'll be one in January. So.
Okay. Yeah, well, dogs are a blessing. I encourage anybody to adopt or buy a dog or give them a loving home, and you can just see what it changes in you. For me, having a dog made me realize how I thought I was more patient than I actually am, and made me realize how like when you're potty training a dog, I'd just get ticked off all the time, or I'd get annoyed because he would just walk us around for 15 minutes outside without going potty and all these things. But it's good to learn patience, especially in this time.
Exactly. And they're good with that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Dogs are good teachers, and they're good, comfort blankets. So get a dog, my friends. Get a dog. Shiloh, I am going to wrap it up here. I very much appreciate you taking the time out of your day to chat with me and share kind of what's going on in your life right now. Thank you for being vulnerable and just like talking about stuff. I think that's so much helpful to people, just hearing people who are also going through stuff right now. We're all just human trying to figure this thing out. And right now is a particularly weird, difficult time. So just being able to share our fellow humanity with our fellow humans is helpful. So I thank you for being on the podcast, Shiloh.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, you betcha. We'll catch up soon. I'll send you a text a little bit later today. Okay, listeners, have a good rest of your day. If you haven't drank any water, you got to be drinking some water. And if you don't have a dog, you got to get a dog, man. You should buy a dog right now. This is my recommendation. Go buy a dog and make sure you can take care of the guy. But we all need more dogs. Have a good rest of your day. We'll see you later.
Better conversations with ourselves.